Hi, and welcome to Tampa Entrepreneurs. I'm Gary Mitchell, your host, and today my guest is T. Oliver Kopian from Creatures of Delight, a little bit of what you can see in front of us. Welcome to the show, T. Oliver. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
You know, I was really surprised because when I go walking down the street in 7th Avenue, no less, in Ybor City, what do I come across but this fantastic store filled with these things? Where do they come from, and how do you get them?
Basically, the creatures are based out of my own imagination, and they're based on all kinds of things from growing up and seeing people and just different, influences I've had. And they're all handmade right there in the studio, right behind the store. And if you come down to the store, you can take a look in behind the wall where the store is and see where and how we make them.
But I think later on in the show, we're going to show people how to do it right now, how you did it. Yeah, we went out there and we did a nice little survey of it. It takes about an hour and a half to make one of these, each one of them, and we managed to cut it down to about 8 minutes. So later on, we're going to have Tom talk to us about how each step it goes and what they're made of and how they're made. By the way, Tom, you say these come out of your imagination?
Yeah, basically, we have over 100 different characters and creatures and everything from manatees to dinosaurs to alligators, and it's all just a reflection of my imagination. I started when I was a kid making haunted houses in the basement and making creatures and doing all kinds of weird stuff like that. I was into making home movies, and I just always made stuff. And, when I graduated college, I just kept making stuff and, turned out to be my career.
Really? Well, how did Creatures of Delight get started? When did you start actually making these things commercially and selling them?
That was about 8.5, 9 years ago. I guess 9 years on May 27th is our 9th anniversary of being in business. And it started once again in my parents' basement. And I was working on stuff for a haunted house, and someone in my parents' neighborhood saw the stuff, and they were from a gift company, and they said, if you could make the stuff soft and squishy, I could sell them for you. So I figured it beat working in a record store or a Taco Bell, and I started making and selling stuff to them. And next thing I knew, we were in FAO Schwartz, and then I got some more sales reps and some more people. We were selling to Disney, Universal. It got to the point where we were selling to over 270 stores all across the country. We were selling in Puerto Rico, some stores in Canada, and it just was going crazy.
Wow. But you say they're soft and squishy. They don't look soft and squishy.
They're made kind of like a paper mache, but with latex. When I first started making them, my budget was, less than zero because I was working with my parents' allowance, and I was working in the basement, and whatever money I could, put together was what I did. And I basically made things out of paper mache and worked with latex also, and I just combined the two and came up with rubber plush, which is a material that we use now, which is patented, and it's being licensed now by other companies.
Really? Other companies are using it?
Yeah, we've licensed it to a number of other companies who are making it in Sri Lanka and the Far East, and they're making things mass-produced that are being sold, in Walmart's, Kmart's, Toys R Us, all over the world.
Great. Well, why don't I reach down here and grab one of these soft and mushy things you're talking about? Let's see this turkey.
That's Willoughby.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, it's not a turkey. That looks like a Willoughby.
Yeah.
Looks something like one of my... This is a puppet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a puppet.
Yeah, I could reach right in here and make the guy talk or bite or... that isn't so bad. That is kind of soft. What's that stuffed with?
It's stuffed with Dacron polyester. It's just like a regular stuffed animal. The outside material is just a little bit more... it's a rubber base, so it's good. What we've found is that people like it. It's a plush for boys as opposed to most girls get teddy bears or, dolls or something. And a boy can have this because it's really tough. It's a latex rubber, the same thing they make tires out of. And they can bang it and hit it and pull it, and it's not going to rip.
Well, I don't know, but you look at these little things up here, these little horns or something. What if a baby was to bite on those,
It's all non-toxic, especially the stuff we make is all non-toxic because we're working with it every day, and we don't want to find out in a couple of years that we've got all these cancers and different things. So we try to work with non-toxic material. We're also, in order to sell to states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and Massachusetts, you have to be safety tested and you have to be registered. We also have had safety testing done by other companies, independent companies, and we meet or exceed all of the Consumer Product Safety Commission standards for toys. So basically we've done our homework because we don't want to come back and find out we're successful one day, but we have a major lawsuit against us.
Or better yet, somebody injured by them.
Yeah.
Safety. I like that thing. That looks kind of neat, doesn't it? Let's see if we can get it back on camera. Actually, I think I used to date something that looked like this.
That's what most people say. I think that's why we sell
Really?
so many of them.
Yeah.
They all look like either people who somebody has dated or their mothers. People who dated.
I'm not gonna answer that one. I love my mother, and she probably wouldn't like me to say that. Besides, my mother had little tiny ears. You know, that's kind of neat. I like that. Oops. Do all of these things have one of these?
Most of them have butts. What we found was through talking to people, we put a couple big butts on the back of some of the creatures a couple of years back, and over the years, people have really responded to it, and a lot of people go crazy because it's got a butt. So almost everything we have, that's kind of like a trademark of ours, to have a big butt on everything. I mean, I don't know if I can show this, but even, like these guys, one of the big selling points is their butt.
Woo!
And that's what people like. This is a Rebel Fairy from Hell.
The Rebel Fairy from Hell.
Yeah. And
yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I think I dated her too.
That's our answer to the porcelain collector doll. When we used to do trade shows and art shows and stuff, people had porcelain dolls, and they would sell these really fine dolls, and they'd look at our stuff and say, oh, that's not really collectible. That's not a doll. So what we did was an answer to the porcelain collector doll, and we came up with Rebel Fairies from Hell.
Yeah. She's cute. Yeah. I think maybe this one can pluck her up a little bit. Maybe? No, I don't know. Oh, I'm not. No, let's keep this alive. Nice show. And where did you get the boots for?
Just at Walmart, and it's really weird now that we have a store. We'll put these in the window sometimes, and people will come in and they don't even notice what's wearing the boots. They just come in and ask how much the boots are. They think we're a shoe store. So we have to keep her back a little bit.
Right. Okay. What about the dress?
The dresses are all custom made. We have a woman in Hyde Park by the name of Donna Benedict, and she custom designs and makes all our outfits. Also my mom in New York. Actually, this very dress, the leather dress, was done by my mom, but a lot of the outfits for like Chester and Wannabe, some of the other characters, are all done by Donna Benedict, and she's in Hyde Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So these are leather clothes they have on?
Well, some are. This is leather. We do leather vests. We do leather outfits. We do custom outfits. If somebody wants a certain creature in a leather outfit or in a Harley Davidson or a doctor's outfit, then that's what we'll put them in. Other than that, we have standard clothes for some certain outfits that certain characters are identified with.
Great. That sounds good. In fact, I think in the clip we have coming up, we have a leather vest. Why don't we go to the clip and you can tell us what's going on here, because I think it's really amazing. Bye. We're going to do a clip. What are these, Tom? What are we looking at here?
This is the first step of making any creature, and these are the heads out of clay. There we work with on modeling clay, and I will sculpt all of the pieces. Sometimes it's all in one piece, and sometimes it's individual. That's a head for a character called Woody, and that's right there I'm sculpting it to eventually make a mold, and that's how we get the finished product. Once we make the clay, we'll pour plaster over it, and we'll make a plaster mold. The plaster mold is a way that we can duplicate exactly what I'd already sculpted, and then we can work with latex and always get the same thing out. Once we get the clay out of the mold, then we can pour latex into it. And essentially, most of these characters are made out of latex. And right there, I'm pouring latex into the mold so that I can, pull out a squishy rubber version of the original Woody head that you saw a couple seconds ago.
Okay, now, what is it? Just the outer edge of the latex dries in the mold?
Yeah, what we do is something called slush molding, and what happens is the plaster acts as a filter, and it holds the skin of the latex and soaks out all of the liquid. And when it dries, it comes out just like that, which is kind of like a skin as opposed to a solid piece.
Oh, all right. That makes sense.
We do hands and feet and all different parts like that. What we do is we pull them out of the molds, and then we trim them up so that we can put them all together. And right there, what I'm doing is I'm trimming the mold. They cut real easily because the latex itself, before we finish it, is fairly easy to work with. Once it actually sets, it becomes really strong. But right away after it comes out of the mold, it's still pretty flexible and pretty easy to cut.
Oh, okay.
Each piece is individually stuffed with Dacron polyester, and that's what keeps it its shape. A lot of people think that they're just air inside, but what we do is we stuff them. People think they're inflated. But that's a body part. And once we get all of the pieces trimmed and pulled out and stuffed, then we have to assemble them. And I think that's going to come up in a second.
Well, this is an awful lot of handwork. For each piece you do this much handwork?
Some pieces take up to 18 molds, and some pieces are just one mold. And if it's a one-piece mold, all we have to do is stuff it and close it up and paint it, and then it's done. But something like this is 5 pieces that all get put together. And so there's quite a bit of work in it.
So all 5 pieces have to be trimmed, and there's... Oh.
Yeah, and poured and the whole thing, and painted and put together. Right there I'm attaching it. When we attach the different pieces, we do it just like with paper mache. We use latex rubber and paper towels, and that's essentially what we have the patent on. And it's really flexible and easy to work with. A lot of people ask why we don't use fabric, because that might be stronger, but it doesn't conform to the shapes as well as paper. Paper loses all of its consistency and becomes more like the rubber. The fibers are good because it gives it a little bit more body, but there's no weave to it, so it doesn't, get in the way or make, odd shapes and stuff.
Looks like a bunch of bandages.
Basically, that's what it is. I mean, it's all held together by latex and paper towel bandages. Once the different parts are once the head is put on, then we have to put the hands on. The hands, in order to be attached, arms have to be added to them. So once I get the hand out, and there's the hand coming out of the mold.
Ooh, yeah.
That gets trimmed, and then we make an arm by sticking some polyester batting into the arm to make like a long, like an arm. And then it gets rolled just like a cigar.
Well, you're stuffing the hand there, right?
Yeah, that's my partner, David Barkley, and he's stuffing the hand. And then he'll be rolling the arm. See, there's the polyester that we make the arm out of. And for that we use batting. And see, he'll roll it.
Yeah.
Stick it in the hand.
Look, I can't get over how much handwork there is in this. I mean, in the machine age, you don't see people doing this by hand all the time.
No, and the licensed stuff that we have done over in Sri Lanka is all handmade also. And even though it's a lot cheaper to work over there, and that's one of the reasons they make it over there, it's still all handmade. It's hand-painted, hand-poured, just the same way as you see here. So he's running a big sheet of paper towels through the latex, and then he'll lay that down and roll it, and then you'll have your arm. See?
Okay. When that dries, though, it'll just be like, the strength almost of a tire then, right?
Yeah, it's really strong. You can't really cut it very easily. You can't rip it. You could pull on it. I mean, it's really, when it's like that, you can just touch it and it'll fall apart. You have to be real careful when it's wet. But when it's dry, it's really strong. See, once it's dried, then it's trimmed so that it'll fit onto the body. And right there, he's just trimming it with the scissors.
I think he's done that once or twice before. He seems to know what he's doing.
And then he'll attach it with latex and paper towels.
Well, then no 2 pieces are really alike, are they?
They're similar, but because they're handmade, the arms will be different lengths a little bit. They'll be facing different directions because each time we use a mold, it'll change a little bit because the molds, plaster molds, are not very strong. So they're, they're going to change a little. So each time we make one, it's going to be a little different than the other one. When they're hand-painted, they're going to be a little different. The color batches are going to be a little different. So you're actually getting a unique, one-of-a-kind piece, even though it's one in a series.
Yeah, it'd be highly identifiable, but
Exactly.
add its own personality, huh?
And all the little defects and stuff are good in custody battles because that way people know that it's definitely there.
You mean between siblings arguing
Exactly.
over? I can see a couple of young kids arguing over the fairy from hell. I can understand that.
A lot of adults argue over them, too.
But would you be able to ask or order a custom painted one? Or?
Yeah, we've done some custom stuff. Right now we do a lot more stuff for other, for big companies. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of prototype work, so we don't have as much time to do custom work. But we've done a lot of custom work for people where we've done certain characters in other colors, certain backpacks and bags in other colors, different outfits, as I said. There he's squishing. Once the thing is all together, just to go back to the tape, he is squishing latex over the whole thing. What that does is it holds it all together, it covers all of the seams, and it also, in effect, paints it, and it makes it stronger. The more coats of latex you put on it, the stronger it becomes, because each time it's got another coat, protection or another, just like when you paint something over a bunch of times, it makes it a little stronger or anything like that. And what happens then is it smooths it out, and people look at them and they can't see where it was attached or anything else. You can see the basic feel of the paper towels and everything and a certain roughness, but you really can't tell how it was attached or where it was attached. And we squish it with Dacron polyester. Once that's done, then we just hand paint it. And we hand paint it and airbrush it, and each one is individually hand painted and airbrushed. And right there he's painting, I think, on the eyes. And once he's done with the eyes, then it'll be done. See, he's almost done.
Yeah, I seem to enjoy painting a lot, so hogged up the camera time. There you are in the background, yeah.
Yes.
I recognize the hat. There we go.
And there's Woody. He looks a lot different than he did in clay because he's got color and, details and stuff. And now he'll get an outfit. He gets a gold chain. Woody's one of the characters we have that's been turned into a cartoon, which we'll talk about later. But he's one of the main characters in the cartoon, and he wears gold chains and a leather vest. He's kind of a tough guy kind of guy, so we dress him with a real leather vest and a gold chain.
That's real leather then, huh?
Yep. We try to use good quality materials because it's a handmade thing and it's something people are going to treasure and hold on to for a long time. So we want to give them a decent quality material.
Let's see what he looks like. Hold him up and let's take a look at him. Come on, hold him up.
He's a little picky about the way they look.
Quality control, man. I noticed he was picking off all the little imperfections when he was, what did you call it? It was
Squishing.
Squishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all right. He squishes good, I guess, huh?
He's a great squisher. That's his best job.
I can think of some of my younger nieces and nephews would probably love to do that for you.
We have a lot of volunteers.
There we go.
And that's Woody.
And that's Woody. And we're going to see him later in a cartoon?
Yes.
All right. Sounds good to me. And we're back again. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, sure.
That was good. You did good. You didn't have to do anything. Someone else did it for you.
It's one of those things where it's a lot more work. People see the finished product and then they think that it's all, it's just 1, 2, 3, bang. But it's really a lot of different steps. And when people come to the studio, we try to explain to them the steps and show them because we've always got different things going on. But unless you really sit there and watch something from start to finish, you don't really understand it. And a lot of times we don't have the clay originals going. We just have the molded on parts. And people really can't get an idea of the actual work that goes into it.
Well, I know that when we came out and did the videoing, I was really impressed because when I looked in the window, I said, okay, they throw them into a mold and then pull them out and put some stuffing into them. And I think it took you all about an hour and 15 minutes to put that together. And it was really rather interesting. I was amazed, really, that in our day of mass production, that this much work goes into making one of these. Essentially, they're a toy. But you've got other things here, too. You don't have just the doll-type things. What are these up here on the wall back here?
Up there are backpacks. What we found was the material works because it's really durable and really strong and flexible. We can make really neat backpacks. And we can cut and sew the material just the same way that you can cut and sew canvas or any other fabric. So we came up with the idea from having unstuffed creatures around of doing a backpack. And actually, that was my mom's idea. She said, why don't you just make a bag? And, and I was like, no, that's really ridiculous. And she said, no, really, it might work. And I said, no. And then other people came and told me the same thing. And then finally I gave in, and I never used to give her credit for it. But
now you're being good to Mom, huh?
So, but
Mother's Day over. You don't have to do it until next year,
But so, a lot of our ideas come from things like that. People give us feedback. That's one of the reasons we like having the store. People come and say, did you ever think of doing this? It's like, no, I never did think of doing that. And then you think about it, and then it becomes a good idea, and it becomes a viable thing, and it becomes a creature. We also do soda can holders and puppets and, all kinds of stuff like that. We've done big wheels and bicycle accessories and helmets, hats, you name it, we've done it.
I'll bet it's big time at Halloween then.
To some extent, Halloween is big for us, but at the same time, most people buy them every day of the year. It's kind of a creature-y, fun kind of thing. It's all up, and most people come in and say, these aren't really monsters. They're creatures. They're fun.
Mm-hmm. Fun creatures. Creatures of delight, right?
Exactly.
Hey, also I noticed that when we drove up to the store, You had some big ones out there. I mean, some big ones. I could have danced with two of them. How big can you make these creatures?
The biggest we've ever made them was about 22 feet. We make them for anywhere from 6 inches to 22 feet. The easiest to work with.
22 feet high?
22. We made some dragons that were 22 feet high. And they were just long, basic neck things, but they were 22 feet. Around 6 feet is the biggest average thing that we'll make, 6 to 8 feet. We have a dragon at the store that's 6 feet, and a Jay Emberson, who's our main character, who's 6 feet, and, you know, other things that are 3 or 4 feet. We have a brontosaurus that's 6 feet long.
All right. Well, I saw most of those, and you didn't bring them down to the studio.
They wouldn't fit in the car. That's
yeah, I believe that. I really do believe that, yes. But we have another clip ready to go. You brought that down with us. You are, we'll talk about it just before we run it. Now, some of your characters, you mentioned it, you alluded to it, but some of your characters you franchise out, or?
Okay, we got involved about 2 years ago after working 100-hour weeks, making the stuff for ourselves and selling it to stores all over. We decided that there's got to be another way of getting the stuff out to the country. So we started working with a licensing company out of London, and they have an office in New York, and we got in touch with them to market and merchandise the designs. And what they do is they lease out the designs and the concept and actually the material rubber plush that we have the patent on to other companies who then market it and produce it and do all of the stuff that we were doing, but on a much bigger scale. And through working with them, we've been able to do party wear licenses and POG licenses and toy licenses. We've had stuff in Walmart, Kmart, Rice Krispies in Europe, and we have a cartoon coming out later this fall that's nationally syndicated and will be on all over the country.
Now, you brought me a 2-minute part of that clip, 2-minute clip of that cartoon.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and show that cartoon and tell us which ones of these creatures are yours, okay?
Okay, that's Brian. He's the boy that goes. He's kind of like the action all revolves around him, and he goes to his aunt's house. That's Jay Emberson. That's Brian's cat Nougat. Brian and his cat go to his Aunt Jane's house to watch the house. She writes children's stories about different creatures, and that's Jay, Sylvia, and Weatherwax, 3 of the main characters, which are all ours. And here comes Scourge. But the idea of the story is that Brian goes to his aunt's house, and the creatures come out looking for his aunt, who's disappeared, and take him in on the adventures. Scourge is the bad guy, and he's kind of causes all kinds of trouble because he, just is really mischievous and wants to, be a real pain in the neck. He's always angry, and he doesn't know why people don't like him and stuff, so he just goes around and causes trouble. But he's one of our characters, and Jay and Sylvia and Weatherwax are all our characters. We consult with the people who are making the cartoon, and we oversee it, and we make sure that they, interact well, and that the characters have our personalities and are drawn the way we want them and look the way we want them to, and we basically have creative control over the whole project.
Wow, that's really something.
Yeah.
Now, he's not your character.
No, he's not our character. Originally, he looked like me as a kid, but they changed him around.
You as a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
We were happy with that, but he didn't animate well looking like me, so I guess I don't make a good cartoon character. So they had to switch him to a little bit more hip and today kind of kid.
All right. There we go.
So Scourge has an ability to change into look like people, so that he can cause all kinds of mischief. But he can only do it when humans are around. And it's something that he does. He gets into the people world as opposed to Delight, which is the creature world, and he starts to cause all kinds of trouble.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Now, when is that going to come on?
It premieres on September 9th nationally. Here locally, it'll be on Sunday mornings on the 44 Kids Club, WTOG, and that'll be on the 10th. It'll be Sunday mornings, probably around 8 o'clock in the morning.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That looks like fun.
It should be neat. It's written by Bruce Talkington, who wrote all the Winnie the Poohs and wrote Darkwing Duck. He's out of Disney. And it's directed by a guy named Terry Lennon, who's out of Warner Brothers, and he did a lot of Bugs Bunnies for 30 years and Animaniacs and Tiny Toons.
All right. So, sounds great.
Sounds like it's going to be good.
Yes. Now then, what is some of these? Like, this is a biggie. That wouldn't be a manatee, would it?
No, that's our manatee. we figured in Florida, when we used to wholesale, we used to do a lot with Florida shops, and now having our own shop in Florida, we figured manatees are a real big thing. We also love manatees personally. So we do manatees, we do alligators, we do all kinds of wildlife, sharks and barracudas, and we also do dinosaurs and all kinds of stuff like that, besides just the fantasy creatures and stuff.
Good. Well, that brings me on to another question. Why did you choose Tampa? With this type of an operation, you could be anywhere.
Well, we started out in New York, and everybody can't understand why Tampa over New York, especially because that's where it's supposed to be happening. Part of the reason for Tampa is Tampa's kind of a medium market, and we figured that being in a medium market, we have all of the pluses of a big city, yet all of the pluses of a smaller city also. And we kind of, New York is so big, and it's so hard to get ahead, and it's so expensive, and it's all hustle bustle. And our marketing people are out of there. The cartoon people are out of L.A., and we have agents in London. So 3 of the major cities in the world we've got covered with people working for us. So we figured we could live a little bit quieter life down in Tampa. And Ybor City, where the shop is kind of artsy, and it's going to be touristy, and it's on its way to becoming something big. And we figured we'd get in at the ground floor of something that's going to become, a really hot tourist destination and a really big place to go.
Well, you're right about that. There's a lot of fun things going on down in Ybor City. As a matter of fact, we'll be doing one of your neighbors on our next show, which is the glass blowing. And I think we'll do some more shows down there. A lot of creativity down there.
No, it's a really neat one of the reasons we moved down were people just like Diane and Dean James who have the glass shop. You can work and do things like that and still have a store, and people are still artsy down there, and they're still trying to do interesting different things, as opposed to just, your basic Banana Republic stores and your Gaps and your stuff like that. You can actually go to unique and fun stores down there, and we just wanted to be one of them.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thanks.
And I think that's all there is to it. Pretty soon they're going to cut us off, and we'll be all done. But thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Quite a creature.